Thank you very much, my colleague Samson. He has actually set the tone for the discussions this morning, and like he said, he would want to see that collaboration with housing, finance, the construction sector. So this morning we are expecting that engagement and also hear from the minister as well. Before we do so, I'm excited that he got the opportunity to mention finance, because it's very key. If we are financing the sector very well, I'm sure we'll be able to beat the housing deficit need, amongst other things that we need so well. So this morning, I'd want one adorable personality in that sector to share with you briefly, within 5 to 10 minutes, really the opportunities in here, the challenges in here, and what we can do as a way forward. Ladies and gentlemen, without taking much of your time, I would want to welcome Head of Executive Banking and Mortgages at Stanbic Bank, Madam Wendy Nelly-Sapon. Please, let's give her a round of applause.
Honorable Minister Works in Housing, all dignitaries, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Wendy Nelly-Sapon, and I currently head mortgages in Stanbic Bank. Let me crave your indulgence for just 2 minutes, and let's see if we can relate to a survey that's currently ongoing in the bank. I believe most banks, like Stanbic, is equally doing the same. Can I ask a question, and I will need 2 people to volunteer and answer this question for me. Did we first acquire a property or a vehicle? Can anybody raise their hand and answer this for me? Sorry, did we first acquire a property or a car, a vehicle? A car, yes. Can I get one more person? A car. I heard a car here too. A third person saying a car. So currently we've just concluded a research or a survey in the bank where we sought to query our lending books to see internally or existing customers the number of customers holding products within the bank. The 3 products we looked at were 1, mortgages, 2, unsecured personal loan, and the third one being vehicle and any other asset. We found out that out of the existing customers, out of our lending book, about 87% had taken unsecured personal loans. Our unsecured personal loans are mainly given out for individuals to do whatever they so desire with those funds. And the second was the vehicle and movable asset finance. And the last one recorded a little over 1%, that was mortgages. And I was very sad to know that even in the mortgages book, we had about 88% of the individual customers being Ghanaians living in the diaspora. So I asked myself, with over 500,000 customers being salaried and about 300,000 more being self-employed, are we not doing anything better to help these customers acquire properties of their own? Are we not doing anything for individuals to live, even not in their dream homes, but their first home? We realized that out of the survey, in the unsecured personal lending space too, individuals that took that particular facility used it for rent. And again, we picked up customer pain points, customer insights. That actually tells us that individuals basically feel or know, or perhaps they imagine or they can't imagine the fact that the mortgage process may be cumbersome or the mortgage process may be difficult. The second reason also being the fact that they feel acquiring properties or property rates or property costs in Ghana are so much expensive that they will not be able to make the step ahead to acquire those properties. But ladies and gentlemen, this morning I'm here to tell you that the process, not just for Stanbic Bank, but for most of my competitors in the industry, is not that cumbersome as we feel. So what it is that for us in Stanbic Bank, we have gone a step ahead to engage, sign all memoranda of understanding with some developers. In those memoranda of understanding, we sat down and made them understand the sort of customers we have and the sort of prospects we are looking at. Currently, the good thing about it is for persons in the public sector, the Ministry of Finance together with Ministry of Works and Housing have availed some funds under the National Housing and Mortgage Fund. The rate has been subsidized. I believe that most people, and that's the question I'm always faced with, what about we in the private sector? We always have to start from somewhere and we get to somewhere. Again, with Lands Commission being our key stakeholder, we've also sat down and engaged on the processes. What remains the problem for most individuals are the extra charges and the rates that's being given by the banks. But as I mentioned just a few minutes ago, for the National Housing and Mortgage Fund, we are lending at a very good rate for individual public sector workers. We have familiarized ourselves as a bank by selling our products to individual institutions where we sign schemes and you're beginning to see traction. The first phase has just ended and we've picked up insights, inputs into the second phase, which we are yet to engage the fund so that we will include all the learnings in the first phase. Let me bore you with some bits of information on some of the issues that have come up after the first pilot. So what happened was that for the first pilot, because we wanted to test and know how this will run, we actually appointed developers and we came up with the communal building so that we'll be able to see how the fund or how the scheme will run. Insights from the first phase tells us that most individuals have already acquired lands. Most individuals have started building. Therefore, it's important that we spread our wings to include these individuals to allow them to complete the properties on their lands. The good thing, or one side of it, is that for the institutions we sign the agreements with, there are unions within these institutions who've acquired land. It is easier for us to start with these individuals or these teams so that even with that we'll continue to see the communal building. Before we touch on the individuals, the Wendy's that have their lands in Bantama and the Asenso-Boakye that have their lands in Abripo. And each of you here will attest to the fact that some individuals have acquired lands, but the issue is to help them build. And again, the developers we appointed were building at a specific place. So you can imagine somebody living in Dansoman and you're asking the person to go and buy a property in Tamakomti 22. So all these are the things that we've included and we submitted to the fund managers to really look at in going to the phase 2. Again, let me come home. So in Stanbic Bank, apart from the fact that we've opened our books or we've opened our doors to everybody to come up, what remains the challenge is affordability and the rates at which we are lending. Again, what we have done to bridge this gap internally is to sign schemes with institutions where we are asking that even though our rates are that high, to come down some basis points on the rates for the individuals to be able to afford. Why don't you bring your salary? So we are getting the benefits from the liabilities, and that one will be used to pay off these things, the burden on the lending book as well. The good thing about the mortgage in Stanbic Bank is that we allow for a full 20-year tenure, which means that if an individual wants an unsecured personal loan or a vehicle loan, you are only allowed 5 years. So the repayments or the loan amount you can take is very small and the repayment is big. But in the mortgage space, once it's been amortized over a full tenure of 20 years, you are sure that you're able to get more funds and at the end of the day, pay very little at the end of the month. It is very seamless. We signed memorandum of understanding with these developers. They are building to suit individual budgets. Don't sit somewhere and say that it's expensive or it's cumbersome to go through the mortgage process. Our doors are open. This year, I have seen competition saying it's a year of mortgage. It's always been years of mortgage for Stanbic Bank. We are going into the limelight to tell people what exactly they so require to come to us for mortgage. It is very easy, and that is what I want us to go home with. The process is very easy. We build or we partner with agencies or real estate companies to come up with properties that suit individual budgets. It is not only the turnkey properties you're offering, being it developer construction, being it the fact that you have a small property at home and you want to do a big one. As a matter of fact, you want us to do the expansion. Just engage anybody in Stanbic and we'll get it to do this easy with you. So what I'll leave with you and everybody here is that let's go out and tell individuals. We may not get the bulk money to buy turnkey properties. We may not have enough money to buy property. But the mortgage process or the mortgage facility has come down to Ghana, and banks are really making it easy. Just walk the talk, sit down with your banker, and this will be a reality for everybody. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so very much, Lady Wendy. Of course, points clearly made, and if you're having any difficulty, you can engage your banker on the next level of mortgage that you should receive. Once again, we say a big thank you to you for bringing us to all these insights. Well, we'll move on. And just like the mortgage sector, they've also come together for well over 30 years now. I believe one of the key mandates that they have is to help solve the housing deficit in the country. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll bring them in shortly to share with us how far they have come, the opportunities available, what they've been doing, and I'm sure the Cardinal is pointing to them now. Ladies and gentlemen, at this moment, I'd want to bring the Executive Secretary of GREDA, Mr. Samuel Amegaibo. Let's give him a bigger round of applause, please, as he comes in.
Okay. Good morning. I thought we had breakfast, so. Good morning once again. The Minister for Works and Housing, Honorable Francis Asenso-Boakye, the Chief Director, Mr. Solomon Asola, and I'll follow on the existing protocol by Mr. Kessie, so that we can use the time to discuss the most important issues. Good morning and welcome to this important real estate stakeholders morning meeting, dubbed Breakfast Meeting with the Minister for Works and Housing. I wish to take this opportunity to salute all players and stakeholders in the real estate sector for striving in spite of challenges that we have faced in the past and continue to face today amidst this pandemic. In our individual and collective efforts to increase the housing stock in Ghana, GREDA congratulates you all for keeping up with the spirit and hope our efforts will be rewarded with the returns we so deserve, and that the requisite assistance from our policymakers will come, and will come soon also, to energize the sector. We also wish to say ayuko to the immediate past Minister for the sector, Honorable Samuel Atta-Achia, for his contribution to the sector during his tenure, and wish him well in his future endeavors. On behalf of the Executive Council of GREDA and on my own behalf, we wish to welcome Honorable Francis Asenso-Boakye, who has been appointed to lead the industry in his capacity as the Substantive Minister for Works and Housing. Honorable, we say Akwaba. We, the industry organized groupings, I'm referring to the Chamber of Construction, Ghana Chamber of Construction Industry, with over 14 industry, businesses, and professional associations. Hereby assure you of our preparedness to work assiduously with your ministry to enable you to achieve your mandate. And at this juncture, I wish the minister to see himself as Christ, and we, the industry players, as his disciples. And we are really going to work with him to achieve his goals. The entire populace, though frustrated and down-spirited in view of our inability to supply adequate housing, carry the hope that your team will enable us achieve our desire to significantly reduce the over 2 million housing deficit that our nation, Ghana, is confronted with today. We pledge to support you to redeem the industry. Previous government efforts have not been adequate, and as you may be aware, the interventions and initiatives have not yielded the expected outcome, hence the worsening housing deficit. The challenges are very well known to all of us as stakeholders, and we are certain you have been briefed and will continue to consult for more details on the scale of the problems. Greater Council, as it is our custom, will soon have our one-on-one session with you as the sector minister at your earliest convenience, and we will be looking forward to that opportunity. Today is a day that Real Estate Times Africa, the host and convener of this breakfast meeting, has created for you to share with us your vision for the sector in consonance with His Excellency the President's agenda for housing the people of Ghana. The President demonstrated his desire to do something significant in housing and has introduced a Minister of State for affordable housing. We are not too sure what the full strategy is. However, it is gratifying to note this significant introduction. Grader's motto is partners in housing the people of Ghana. And as such, we are ever ready to partner government and any legally approved entity to make home ownership affordable, accessible, and a reality. We will wait to hear your vision for the housing sector, after which we will respond appropriately. Our pledge to support you in our mutual interest is safe and intact as we yearn for the vital enthusiasm needed to drive the desired change. Grader signed a commercial contract to supply 20,000 housing units with the ministry just before the year ended last year. And we will be working with you to see how best this can be made possible and actualized. While we wait to hear from you, permit me to outline a few critical observations that have serious consequences for the industry. These are in two simple categories, and we urge you to critically consider them as you have assumed your seat at the ministry. They are, the first one is the dues. We will encourage you to look at this critically. The dues refers to what we would encourage you to do to help propel and solidify the industry during your tenure to add up to your legacy goals. One, regulation of the real estate industry. Since 2015, stakeholders prescribed the establishment of the National Housing Authority. Unfortunately, nothing has been heard of it until manifestos leading to the last election started mentioning it. We have heard you already saying work has commenced, and I think this is a good start that will commend you to continue with it. The industry needs regulation. There are too many quacks and fake developers in the system. The establishment of the housing fund is also very critical. the framework to achieve the set goals in the National Housing Policy, which was launched in 2015, must be urgently looked at. We need to develop our housing sector with a national agenda and not political manifestos. This evidence is overwhelming to support the assertion that it is the best way forward. The condominium bill be pushed to its passage before the end of the term of this government, if possible, because developers are now getting to apartments and condominiums, and the ownership is a problem. How to write a title for those those properties is becoming a problem. Construction Industry Development Authority bill should be looked at in conjunction with all existing council laws. Some work is already going on. Take time to establish a sustainable housing scheme in consultation with all stakeholders across the country. Consult more for local solutions from our local professionals and business associations to confront the housing deficit. Now the don'ts. The don'ts. These refer to the mistakes of the past and will have rather negative impact on your main objectives at the ministry if you spend time and resources to repeat them. 1. Over-reliance on foreign solutions to our housing deficit. The local possible solutions have not yet been tapped. Waiting to vet proposals from individuals and companies instead of taking initiatives to develop a homegrown solution that is self-sustainable at the national level. Avoid what we call execute and go as much as possible. We are in this country, we have the players in the industry, all of a sudden we hear in the news, government signs contract to build 1,000 houses, 2,000 houses somewhere, and you don't know how it came about. And ceremonies are held, fanfares are taking place, and we don't see these houses coming up. I think we need to think through this and execute realistic projects. Unfair practice of giving more incentives to foreign companies, especially land banks and tax incentives, to ensure equal playing field, if possible, if not something even better for the local players. Then, as I already said, to reduce sword-cutting fanfares, which has been the practice in the past, thus more sword-cuttings than commissioned projects. We have to stop this. Avoid temptations to abandon old projects, especially those started by your political opponents and or by your predecessors. The housing sector will never flourish where politicking takes the center stage. The above are just a few teasers for you to reflect on, whilst you take steps to engage more with the players and stakeholders groups for more specific concerns to generally improve the sector. The new canker that is tiptoeing into the sector is money laundering, and will require the collaboration of your ministry and other state agencies to combat it before it creeps into the fiber of the players and cause any harm to genuine investment flow into the sector. Anti-Money Laundering Act, Act 2008, now amended as 2020 Act 1044, is the law that is to help combat this threat. Real estate practitioners and brokers are undergoing sensitization and education for better understanding of the laws, with support from FIC that is Financial Intelligence Center. The latest engagement was at this same room last week, where we were held here by GIABA. GIABA is the Intergovernmental Action Group Against Money Laundering in West Africa, and we're assisted by the FIC to host developers and brokers right in this room for 3 days to take us through it. The passing of the Real Estate Agency Act, Act 2020 Act 10447, clearly reference the reading of the Act at Section 60 to be read in addition to the anti-money laundering law if it is to be effectively implemented. Thankfully, your ministry was well represented, and we have a feeling that the collaboration will take place to ensure. As I earlier indicated, today is your day, and we are here to listen to you more than to lead in the talking. So my usual style, I talk about a lot of problems, but today I'm leaving it because we know the story. We don't need to repeat them. So, in view of this, we wish you well in your tenure as the Minister for Works and Housing, and as our support for you is untainted, and we wish to see you succeed by driving the needed change. In conclusion, the mantra from us now is that we are tired of the rhetorics. So I have come up with something to remind us all from not embarking on the rhetorics wagon. So we reject something I call NATO. NATO is NATO, and it simply means no action, talk only, which you may agree that it did not help us at all. So we are encouraging you to embrace malt. So when you see a bottle of malt, then you remember that now there's more action, but less talk. God bless our sector, God bless the minister, and God bless all of us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Samuel Amegagbo. He's the Executive Secretary of GREDA. Ladies and gentlemen, if you just tune in, and for those of you who are watching us at home, this breakfast meeting is powered by Real Estate Times Africa, and you're watching it live on GH1 TV, of course, your best experience. Ladies and gentlemen, I must also acknowledge other media houses that are supporting us telecast this, and we would always want to appreciate Penin GTV, TV3, Peace FM, City FM, and City TV, the various newspapers that are here. We want to say a big thank you for joining us for this morning's breakfast meeting with the minister. Ladies and gentlemen, if I want to come out with the achievements and everything about the minister, I'm sure that would take a great deal of time. And we're live on TV, so I'd want to keep it snappy and borrow Mr. Amegaibo's words that, Honorable Minister, you are now the Messiah in the works and housing sector. We are your disciples, and we're ready to hear you. Please let's give him a round of applause as he comes in.
Thank you very much, my good friend, Mr. MC. I believe there's no chairman for the occasion, but I'll put Mr. Chairman here. Distinguished invited guests, officials of the Ministry of Works and Housing, friends of the media, ladies and gentlemen, good morning to you all. I would like to, first of all, thank the organizers, Real Estate Africa, for the opportunity to be part of today's meeting. The Ministry of Works and Housing is always happy to be associated with events of this nature, as it does not only create the opportunity to share experiences and network with industry players, but also promotes continuous growth and development in the real estate sector. While I add my voice to the organizers in welcoming you all, I wish to commend the leadership of Real Estate Times Africa for creating this platform for such great minds to dilate on issues affecting this very important sector. I believe there is no better time for this opportunity to engage stakeholders, identifiable stakeholders, to unveil the ministry's intended policies, initiatives, and interventions for the real estate subsector, and for that matter, the housing sector. The vision of the MPP government for the housing sector is to use an appropriate mix of public and private sector investments to deliver quality, safe, affordable housing solutions that meet the needs and capacity of the ordinary Ghanaian. Accordingly, this government intends to back on an affordable housing program aimed at facilitating the construction of more housing units across the country over the next 4 years. Indeed, as Sector Minister, I'll be leading the process to engage key stakeholders within the sector to find ingenious ways of creating the enabling environment, especially for the private sector. That is why about a week ago, I had the opportunity to lead officials of the Ministry of Works and Housing to engage officials of the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources, led by their minister, to identify suitable lands needed to deliver these affordable homes. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, as you are no doubt aware, affordable housing over the years has been on the agenda of the Ministry of Works and Housing. Considering the housing deficit, now estimated at 2 million units, there is the need for a concerted government policy direction to tackle the current institutional gap that is required to provide mass affordable housing for the people of Ghana. For this reason, the MPP government plans to set up a national housing authority to lead the supply side of the housing market. The main function of this authority will be to plan, develop, and manage housing development in Ghana. Among other things, the National Housing Authority will be to improve the legal and the regulatory framework in the housing sector, create land banks for housing development, provide infrastructure on the said land banks, standardize housing specification, and ensure controlled development. The expectation is that the operations of the National Housing Authority will complement the activities of the newly created National Housing and Mortgage Fund, which is to stimulate the demand side of the housing market, to make housing accessible to low to income earners, low to middle income earners. Additionally, the MPP government intends to leverage on the pensions fund to finance housing delivery in Ghana. This is one of the surest ways to secure long-term and sustainable financing for the housing sector. The government intention, is to review the Pensions Act to increase its portfolio for housing from the current 5%. Ladies and gentlemen, we all admit that the real estate sector is of great importance to the economy of every country, and particularly the financial market, because of the large monetary transactions involved. The practice has grown considerably in recent years, as the property market has become more active with buying, selling, and leasing of property for investment. Until recently, the institutional and the regulatory framework for the real estate subsector remain fragmented, making real estate practice in Ghana not adequately regulated. Indeed, recognizing the need to regulate the operations of real estate dealers and other intermediaries to adhere to international best practices, government in 2020 submitted Real Estate Agency Bill to Parliament for consideration and approval. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm happy to inform you that Parliament has since passed the Real Estate Agency Act 2020, Act 1047. The Act seeks to regulate the real estate agency practice, the conduct of the real estate practitioners, commercial transactions including sale, purchase, rental, and leasing of properties. The goal is for the sector to prohibit unlicensed persons other than those authorized or exempted under the Act from engaging in real estate transactions. The expectation is that the implementation of the provisions of the Act will go a long way to plug the avenues in which real estate transactions are used to launder money, including the provision of the use of cash for real estate transactions, which in turn will generate more revenue for government. Similarly, the review of the Rent Act 1963, Act 220, is seriously on the agenda of the Ministry of Works and Housing. The proposed review of the Rent Act will make provision for a tenancy system which will compel landlords and property owners to conduct proper checks on tenants before renting out their properties. It is envisaged that the full implementation of the new proposed Rent Act, together with the planned digitization of the operations of the Rent Control Department, will help create a database of both landlords and tenants within the real estate market. Ladies and gentlemen, the issue of foreclosure has been very topical in recent times within the mortgage market. The current laws governing these transactions are not robust enough to protect mortgage companies in the event of default. For this reason, government intends to review the Home Mortgage Finance Act 2008, Act 770, to ensure that foreclosure processes are simplified. It is evident that statutes play a key role in establishing the platform for good governance. Therefore, colleagues, to strengthen the regulatory regime within the building and the construction industry, the Ghana Building Code, which covers all essential areas necessary for the smooth and the safe operation of the building and the construction industry, was launched in 2018. Additionally, our building and construction industry needs to be regulated in a manner that guarantees the safety of the public. For this reason, the National Building Regulations, LI 1630, which was promulgated in the year 1996, is currently under review. The ministry is leading the process for its amendment and has forwarded its recommendation to the Attorney General's office for drafting. This regulation sets out requirements and recommendations for efficient standards for residential and non-residential buildings. The regulations covers the pre-construction, planning, management, and best practices needed especially at the planning stage of projects to ensure ease of construction. Let me emphasize that as major stakeholders within the building and the construction industry, you will be involved at every stage of the process before these legislations are taken to Parliament for consideration and passage. On this note, ladies and gentlemen, invited guests, the Ministry of Works and Housing hopes to maintain and strengthen its existing relationship with all developers, consultants, property financiers, contractors, and other industry players gathered here. I wish to extend my appreciation once again to the organizers for the opportunity offered us to engage with you. Keep up with the ingenuity and excellence in the real estate sector. Thank you very much, and may God bless us all. Thank you.
So, Honorable Minister, thank you very much. Very brief, concise. Of course, it's a breakfast meeting. For all those who are watching from your homes, of course, this is a breakfast meeting with the Minister for Works and Housing. Honorable, we would have wanted you to take your seats up here. We would want a few contributions. Now, I say contributions because I'm being guided. The Minister is quite new in office. Now, especially with sometimes my friends in the Inky fraternity, when you give the opportunity, they will go 19 years back and ask of a real estate issue that they would expect the minister to be the one answering, which can be difficult. So we rather want productive contributions, you know. You think how we can use pensions and the like to support the industry. You can contribute. You think, or you represent a body that is here. You think you can significantly contribute to a particular area. We're ready to take those contributions at this moment. And then if the minister would also want to touch on it briefly. But let's take it away from issues way back when he had not been around and try to hijack him to answer those. Thank you very much. I'm sure we all agree to this. Thank you very much. So, sir, you have the first opportunity. If my colleagues are here and you can help them with a microphone, I'll be very grateful. Okay, yes, because it's on television, please come over here and we'll do so. So if we can take 3 contributions, if the minister would want to comment on it. I see Mr. Adams-Buna, sir, you can also join here. And then any other? Okay, so 3. Okay, contributions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister and the Chief Director. I'm Professor Divine Ahaji from KNUST. And I'm happy to be here. And I want to first thank the Minister for touching on the National Housing Authority, which is something that we actually need. And I think this should go with the Housing Act, which maybe I did not hear. And when he mentioned the Rent Act, then I asked myself, if you have a Housing Act, then can't you incorporate the rent into it? Because the Housing Act will be a broader issue covering all aspects of housing. So I think that is something that I can make as a suggestion for Minister to look in. But then, we want to understand what is the government's philosophy on housing. Is housing a welfare state in this country? Because if we are going to address housing, then government must see housing as a welfare issue. The market economy is there, but if government does not take the lead in making housing a welfare issue, then it means that market forces will determine, and I think that is one area that the minister will want to look at. For instance, this issue of affordable housing. That's why from our perspective, we are calling for a change in the narrative. That instead of talking about affordable housing, we should talk about social housing. Because we all know when we say affordable, there's always discussion here and there because of differences in definition. For instance, in Australia and Ireland, when they say affordable, they mean for first buyers. Do we have that data in Ghana? When we say affordable, is it for first home buyers? No. But when you go to the UK, it's for social housing. And social housing comes with the mind that you are building not for profit and also below market price. Which means that if government goes with that position, then government is looking at housing for the vulnerable and bringing all of them on board. And then, based on that, you can have 3 categories, which is what we call the ambulance service. You see, you build social housing for people who are in very serious need. Then it comes to the safety net, where you consider people who might have issues of income then government comes to support. It's another form of social housing. Then you have the affordability aspect. So that gives government the option to now define affordable housing properly in the context of what? Social housing. So I will want to beg that we change the narrative to social housing so that we begin to focus the mind on building houses for the general populace and not only for the top and upper middle class. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Very significant. Thank you very much, Mr. Adams-Bona. You may come in now.
Thank you very much. Good morning, Honorable Minister. And my colleagues from the Chamber of Construction Industry, Mr. Megaibo, he's my colleague. Honorable Minister, the speaker before me spoke about social housing. I would think different. The moment it becomes social housing, it becomes, call it a party-full soldiers housing. That is usually the issue. For instance, if you take the Segleme housing. No, wait. I'm making a point. You can disagree. No, you can disagree. You can disagree. Basically, what I want to see, I are quite. It's good I have Mr. Salah here. He's the CEO or he's the MD for Lakeside Estates. I acquired one of their homes 20 years ago. Maybe subsequently have had a few. The truth is that government should rather put in policy or policies for the private sector. If there are good policies for the private sector, I do believe that land litigations and all those issues have culminated into high prices for housing. And so I would have wished that government would be a policymaker and not trying to build houses for the general populace. Because the moment that happens, for instance, you take the Segleme homes, we are told that somehow some people ended up almost selling the houses to themselves. It was in the media. And so I would want to see a situation where maybe a house that I would buy from Lakeside for 40,000, 50,000 or 80,000, if government sends water, electricity, you build roads, you do all the things. Lakeside, for instance, is constructing its roads. Others are constructing their roads. They are bringing power, water to Lakeside CH. For some time, we are told it hasn't come. And so my point is that if all these things are there, Mr. Minister, a house that would cost maybe 80,000 will come down to 25,000. And the ordinary person, maybe the media man, my friend from GH Media, would be able to get onto the mortgage ladder. And the lady from the bank who spoke about mortgage, you should have told us how much the initial deposit is. Yeah, because the truth is that we don't have zero deposits. Okay, I'm told, I'm corrected that now they have. But how much would that be? And so mine is, Mr. Minister, I appeal to you, being a new minister and maybe very firm on some of the things you believe in, let's set in policies to take away government from building houses for Ghanaians so that the real estate developers will build it, sell it at maybe a quarter of the price of that they are selling today, so that in the end, all of us, this will be easy for all of us to acquire. If not, if government wants to make policy and still build, we will never reach where we want to reach. That's all I want to say. Thank you.
Just a quick announcement. We secured airtime so those at home can also join us. So let's keep it very brief while we can. Okay. So the Honorable Minister wants to react to some of the issues. Hello.
Yes. Good morning once again. Real estate times. Your new minister, you brought him here for him to be drilled like this, as if I have all the answers. But it is an important meeting. One of the things that I was hoping to to do before any public engagement was to get the opportunity to meet with the key stakeholders, especially Greda. Because I was considering whether it was necessary for actually do this presentation, especially when he wanted to talk about our policies and all that. But if I hadn't come, it would have sounded that now. So, but we still have policies in place, our manifesto and everything. But sir, Ahiazi Divine. I mean, the issues that you raise. When I was speaking in a speech, I couldn't have mentioned all the details, especially with the National Housing Authority. Everything is captured in there. And the other speaker was talking about the need for policy. For me, I think there is enough policy to deal with the housing sector. What we need to do is the implementation and the action. The second speaker was talking about the need to provide infrastructure on these land banks so that the private sector can take advantage of. I think I said something like that in my presentation. I said that last week I went to meet with the lands minister as a starting point, because acquisition of land is fundamental in every housing delivery development. And once you have this National Housing Authority, those of you who listen to my vetting, I mentioned it, that one of the things that I have realized is that there's this institutional gap. So that it is important that we fill that gap, so that we have such an institution like National Housing Authority to plan, develop, and manage housing delivery in Ghana. And that's very instructive. If we're able to do that, this issue of the one that our executive director of Greda mentioned, that affordable housing program is started by a government, and the next government comes, it abandons it. It's because these programs are being managed at the ministry, where political heads have direct control. But if we have affordable National Housing Authority managing this, first of all, the design and the conception of the project will be such that political control will be very much limited. In the case of Saglame, it's obvious that it wasn't technical people that designed the project. So how can you allocate $200 million for 5,000 houses and come back to say that we did not consider infrastructure costs, so we are reducing the scope of the project? If technical people who will be working at the National Housing Authority had designed such a project, this will not come. This problem will not arise at all. So that institutional gap needs to be tackled. And those of you who have listened to me in the last month since I've been in office, anywhere that I've been, I've mentioned this National Housing Authority, and this is very important. The issue of affordable housing and social housing, they are not the same. You were asking whether will government see housing as a welfare issue. Government cannot see the entire housing program as a welfare issue, because, Professor, you are very rich. You won't provide housing for you for free. The houses that are being high-end houses are being. These are not the problem of government now. When you say affordable housing, my understanding is that workers should be able to spend at least 30% of their income to access housing. Those are what we mean by affordable housing. And the statistics show that about 60% of Ghanaians need support from government to be able to access housing. And those are the ones that you want to target. The statistics also show that 35% of Ghanaians can never access housing regardless of government intervention. Those are the people we should provide social housing for. And the 5%, the very rich 5%, like Professor Ahiazi, you, no matter what, you provide housing. So there are different segments of the market, and we provide targeted intervention for all these segments. Social housing, yes. If you look at the national housing policy, social housing is one of the things that the housing authority is supposed to deal with. But that will depend on the strength of government. Looking at our current debt to GDP ratio, very high. And no government can at this time will be able to do that. But it's something that is on the agenda of government, that if our economy improves, we'll be able to provide some mass social housing for the people. But for now, like the president said, our target is affordable housing. And one of the things that government wants to do is to set up this National Housing Authority, whose duty is to create these land banks and service them. Once you service them and you invite developers to come in, you would have reduced about close to 50% of the cost. And it will make it affordable to many Ghanaians. So that's the strategy. And I don't think this is rocket science. And we will need your support to help in drafting this National Housing Authority, so that together we all deal with this housing deficit together. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. So more people would want to have a few contributions, not necessarily questions, but to contribute to the discussions. Just a few more and we're done. They are here. Kindly draw my attention. NPRA would also want to make a quick contribution, so at the right time would allow them in. But time is not so friendly to us now, so we'll plead for just a minute of a contribution. Thank you.
Thank you very much. My name is Asenso-Boakye, the Director of the Building and Road Research Institute from Kumasi, CSR. Good morning, Honorable Minister, and good morning, Mr. Amegaibo, my board member. Just a brief contribution, and I'll dwell on the three key words used by the Honorable Minister: quality, safe, and affordable. And my proposal for quality is that we need to train our artisans. We need to train our artisans in construction practices so that we can have quality buildings. Today, the biggest problem we have in our institute on a daily basis is the issue of rising dam. Every day people are coming in with the problem of rising dam. It used to be buildings in waterlogged areas. Now it is almost everywhere. And I believe that we need to train our artisans to appreciate the challenges that are coming with construction. The second word was safe. Maintaining standards is the key. In 2018, here at Alisa, we commissioned or inaugurated the building code, which the Building and Road Research Institute assisted the Ghana Standards Authority to develop. It's a huge document. And we have advised the Ghana Standards Authority to break it into the various components: electrical, masonry, carpentry, and put it on the net so that those we have trained can assess them and look at the standards so that we can be able to build safe buildings. As I speak now, BRI has a team in the north assessing integrity of buildings that seem to be either sinking or collapsing with huge cracks. Some are educational infrastructure, and that can be dangerous to the health and life of our students. Affordability. I'm happy we are talking about affordability. It's a big word and a very confusing one. We have done the analysis and we have concluded that it needs long-term financing. Any mortgage financing scheme that is less than 10 years will not suffice in this country. So it means there's the need for government intervention. We talked about the fact that people outside are able to pay within a reasonable period of time. If you add the dollar rating, the depreciation, and the exchange rate, no matter how much we charge here, it won't work. Because people in US are paying between 20 and 30 years mortgage financing. It's a rent-to-own kind of scheme. But here, you have mortgage facilities that are 5 years, maximum 10 years. It can't be sustained. We have done the analysis with some banking institutions, categorized them into junior staff, senior staff, and senior members. And the rates are such that they are unsustainable. And for the affordability, Mr. Minister, we have to look at the land market. And I'm happy you are liaising with the Minister for Lands. It is very important. Each real estate company will have to pay 2 or 3 times to allow their landowners to be able to get the free mind to be able to develop their land. And this will be transferred to the people who want to own land. And it increases the cost of buildings. We have to look at alternative building materials. And I think Mr. Megaibo knows what I'm talking about. Alternative sustainable building materials is the way to go. I don't want to take much time, so thank you very much.
So a lot agree to the 1 minute, but the moment they get here, it changes it to 5 minutes. So I'll plead with, at maximum 2 minutes is fair. NPRA would want to take your contribution now and then. Kindly, because you can see the line up here, so they all just want to contribute.
Good morning, Mr. Megaibo. Right. Honourable Minister, certainly for MPRA, we are very, very happy to hear about the government's intention of setting up the National Housing Authority, and even more so, the idea of leveraging on pension funds to finance the real estate industry, and also to increase the per-usual limit from the current 5%. Is really a welcoming initiative, because we regulate the 3-tier pension system, and it's a defined contribution system, so which means that investment is very key to the growth of pension funds. In 2017, we developed a guideline for investment of pension funds, and there are 7 areas that we allow pension funds to be invested in, and out of the 7 asset classes, 4 are geared towards financing the real estate. So it is really welcoming that government is now beginning to look at this area, and we very much would like to engage on that. At the time we were introducing the guideline, the Tier 2 and Tier 3 pension funds were growing at 6.7 billion. Currently, it's growing at 24 billion. So there's a 400% growth. So that's a huge market that pension funds can, the housing industry can tap into for financing. And Kweku, maybe your next engagement, try and bring the trustees and the fund managers so that they can engage with the housing industry, because they are the real owners of the pension funds. We are only regulators. So yes. So when you bring them closer to the housing industry, then you can begin to engage and see how pension funds, because our minister, 80% of pension funds are being invested in government bonds. And you know, the housing industry really needs the pension funds, and pension funds also needs housing for purpose of investment. So I'm very happy that the leveraging of pension funds is now high on the government agenda. So that's just the contribution I want to make. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Good morning. My name is Ernest Kwashi from Enrich Estates Limited. Mr. Minister, you are welcome. Mine is just a simple plea. Mr. Minister, please try as much as possible to look into the issue of land guards. The issue of land guards, it has been with us for a long time. I believe we all know about it. I'm not going to give lectures on it. These guys have terrorized us a lot. People genuinely buy their land and you cannot develop. Just last week, I was with one of the policemen in Medina, and we got a call from a customer saying that Langa says if he doesn't pay 5,000, they will not allow him to work. What crime? Digging fee. What crime has it caused? And one thing with these guys is they are Langas during the day and they are armed robbers during the night. So, Mr. Minister, please take this up and let's see solution. We have heard a lot. I mean, so many people have talked about it. We all know about it. And there's no reason why no action. I don't know if there's action, but I'm not seeing it. Because the guys are all over the place. And where I am around East Legon Hills. They are all over the place. So please, Mr. Minister, it will be very good if you take this thing up. Thank you very much.
Respond.
Sir,
Yeah.
the construction industry wanted to add theirs shortly, and then. No, you can have the microphone.
I'm done.
Okay, let me.
Thank you.
No more.
Thank you. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Cherry Emmanuel, the CEO of Ghana Chamber of Construction Industry. Let me first of all, is it okay? Hello? Okay, Cherry Emmanuel, the CEO of Ghana Chamber of Construction Industry. Let me allow the organizers of this wonderful breakfast meeting to haul in our minister to come and introduce himself formally to us. But before I continue, there are some issues that we need to table, but I was called by my Honorable Chief Director that you have summoned our presence. If not so, we could have tabled certain things here and then possibly Mazimadi. But by the intervention of the Chief Director, I will let them rest. I will let them to rest now and then quickly have a behind closed door meeting with you, because there are a pocket of issues that we need to discuss. And first of all, we need to congratulate the promoters of the Real Estate Agency Act 1047. That's the Ghana Institution of Surveyors. They really did well, being supported by our sector minister, the immediate past minister, and then the agencies as well. Now, with the land gas issues and that, but I believe all those things have been factored into Real Estate Agency Authority. So my simple plea is that since you have taken over, you are very new, so we need not to baptize you with fire. So therefore, I am just, putting it before you. We'll be meeting you, I believe, either very soon within a week, and then we'll delve into nitty-gritty aspect of this particular issue, because it's a worry. And if this composition of the council is immediately put in place, this Langa issue, money laundry issues, all of them at least will be reduced to almost 90% to zero. So therefore, on this note, let me congratulate you, and then take this opportunity that our doors are still open. We just finished 2 meetings with our sector minister, roads and highways. By our very own, we are here too. So on this note, I congratulate you, and we are waiting for your call. Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Emmanuel, my doors are open. Yeah, I mean, whenever you want to see me, I'm available. But as you know, the Ministry of Works and Housing is not the only ministry in charge of construction. Roads is there, even energy, sanitation and water. So you cut across, the ministries. But I just want to say that I'm ready anytime that you would like to meet with me. Some others have come. If you had written to me, I'm sure by now we would have granted you the audience. But the issue of land gas, NS, when you said that you live at East Legon Hills, then I realized that you are really suffering. because that area, the folks are really there. And but I'm not too sure whether it's entirely the duty of Western House. Or land issues are for Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources. Then even more importantly, National Security and Ministry of Interior. I think that we have to find a way of cracking them down and also making sure that we provide a conducive environment for developers to do their work. So we will try and engage those concerned and see how we can solve the problem. MPRA, thank you very much for all these assurances. You will recall that I've had opportunity to engage you on how we can actualize our vision of leveraging the pension fund for housing financing. And in the months to come, I'm sure you'll be engaging in the more. Mr. David Asenso from BRI. Your presentation was on point, especially the issue of mortgage financing. The real deal about mortgage financing is that we cannot rely on our current banks, who are pretty much commercial banks, like Stanbic, Ghana Commercial Bank, to provide mortgage financing, because by the operations they take money from customers. That's where they get a big chunk of their resources from, and those deposits are not long-term deposits. So what we need to do is to really find a way of going to the capital market, because they are the ones who can provide us with long-term capital, so that we can provide mortgages for like 20 to 30, in some cases 35 years. That is basically the difference between mortgage arrangements in the Western world and the kind we have here. So on our part, we will be actively engaging the Ministry of Finance and see how we can address this matter. Once we're able to address that matter, construction will be a matter of course, because there will be guaranteed effective demand for these houses, and the lives of Greda will just be producing for them. So I believe I've responded to the three issues, the last three issues. So I would like Mr. Greda, Executive Director, to also say something.
Hello. Okay, I would like to touch on the training that was also mentioned by Mr. Asenso. You know, a lot is happening in the TVET area now. As you are aware, government has refocused and is preaching TVET. And as you are also aware, the COTVET has been transformed from a council now to a commission. So they are regulating the TVET, area. But my problem that I have observed is that we, the employers, businessmen, we don't seem to be bothered at all about training of people to take over our workforce in the industry. We are very busy working out, making money, but we are not concerned. And so there are so many training programs going on that require some of us to assist them to work. They need our firms to bring people for internships. We make a call to a particular company. Can we bring 10 people to work under your craftsmen or under the supervision of your technical people? And you are almost not willing to accept them. And yet we are the same people who are complaining about poor quality, technicians and artisans in the system. If we don't help the system, how do we expect it to work? I am sitting here and I'm sure we don't know. We now have sector skills body for a few of the sectors. And I happen to be the chairman for the sector skills body for the construction sector. So I have been involved with so many stakeholder engagements to make the change that is required in our area. But the challenge has been most of us are not willing to offer our support for these things to work. So I'm appealing to all of us here that if you get a call from any of these programs that is seeking your firm to aid in internships, please open up so that we can cause the change that we require. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Honorable Minister. Just to add to all that has been said, I'm Samson Kessie, Head of Residential Real Estate at Real Estate Times Africa. Honorable Minister, thanks for recognizing the problem of asset liability mismatch with regards to mortgages. Indeed, it has been one of the key problems, and I believe the solution is developing a secondary mortgage market with the help of real estate investment trust, so that our banks can fall on it and in giving out affordable mortgage interest to Ghanaians. And the other that I think all of us might have forgotten is that it's not everyone who can own a home. Indeed, we've placed much emphasis on home ownership, thereby neglecting the rental segment. And I think it is in this light that your government has come in with the National Rental Assistance Scheme. And I would like to suggest that we engage more with our landlords, because they are the key stakeholders, unless, of course, we want to say that it's only going to be an Accra Kumasi scheme. The engagement of these landlords are paramount to the success of the rental assistance scheme. And lastly, I want to urge us, the ministry, to engage more with our research-based institutions. More recently, I think in February, 3 of our astute researchers from Kumasi Poly, Department of Land Economy, and that of one from Cambridge University, has come up with a very relevant research paper which has implication for what your government intends to roll out in terms of the National Rental Assistance Scheme. Keenly, they were looking at for what are the reasons why one will be a critic of the rent advance scheme. What are the reasons or motivations for one not being a critic for the rent assistance scheme? I believe in due course I'll share with Madam so that you know the way forward. So the key thing is that as far as we place much emphasis on home ownership, we should also focus on our rental segment. At least those of us who may not be able to, young graduates like myself, who could not afford outrightly the ownership ladder, could have a proper route towards home ownership through the rental route. Thank you very much. And on this note, I would like to urge us all that Real Estate Times Africa has come and has come to stay. We'll be knocking on your doors for information to develop our research, articles, and analysis. We thank you once more for the opportunity given us and availing yourself to be involved in this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, we're preparing to conclude, but let me sincerely apologize for folks who were watching us were joining us via Zoom. Honorable Minister, they so much wanted to contribute, but I think we did not make provision for you. Some are hitting us from the UK and other places. Next time we have this forum, we'll create the opportunity, but today just accept our apologies for not making provision for you to bring in your contributions. Definitely, there'll be more of this with the Honorable Minister. Having said that, ladies and gentlemen, we would want to say a big thank you to every one of you. And my colleague would come and do that for us, Mr. Kweku Ampedu Boateng. He's Head of Marketing and Business at Real Estate Times Africa. Please, let's welcome him. And Kweku, I've been looking forward to all these players here, you telling us really, Real Estate Times Africa, what do we stand for? So come in, say thank you, and tell us a little bit about us. I thought you would applaud him.
Thank you very much. So like he said, my name is Kweku Ampadu-Boatye. I'm the head of marketing and business development for Real Estate Times Africa. First of all, I'd like to say a very big thank you for honoring our invitation from Stanbic Bank, Grader, and the Honorable Minister. Thank you very much for honoring our invitation. Since you made yourself available, we are counting on you that we'll be coming to you on a regular basis to get more information. Thank you very much. Please give a round of applause for our minister for coming. So for those who don't know us, we are Real Estate Times Africa. We are a continental newspaper for the broader real estate sector. What we do basically is to give you credible, relevant real estate information news and then capture all that under one umbrella. So we have a website and then our newspaper, which is coming up very soon, to capture all that we do within the sector. So we'll be capturing, we'll be giving credible, independent information through the online portal for the residential, commercial, and all the other sectors within the real estate sector. Also, what we intend to do is to be the official mouthpiece. Now, this means that I'll be coming to your doorsteps, I'll be coming to your offices for businesses. I mean, let us all work together to build our sector. Whatever we are doing is to develop our nation one house at a time. Whatever we are doing is geared towards developing our country. If we work together, if we all come together with one strength, I'm sure we can develop our nation better and stronger. Also wanted to indicate that we have a newspaper which is already out, and from tomorrow, if you, pardon me, if you flip your book chart, there are subscription forms in it. If you would want to subscribe, kindly fill the form, leave it on the desk, we'll pick it up later, and then we'll give you a copy of our newspaper. Now, this newspaper will not just be informative, but more of a credible source of information. So we are going to capture whatever you have, whatever information that you want us to publish. If you want us to do profiles on your properties or your companies, if you have any information, we should be your mouthpiece for the real estate sector. And then together, I'm sure we can promote this sector for everybody's benefit. So as I end, I would like to say a very big thank you for gracing our occasion. Unfortunately, we are almost done. But this is not the last. We are going to call on you again. We are going to call on each department, all of you to, if possible, get all this audience back together and then organize more events for us within the sector. So as I end, I would like to say a very big thank you, Honorable Minister. Thank you very much for honoring our invitation. Thank you, sir, for also honoring our invitation. And thank you, Madam, for gracing our occasion. Thank you very much and have a good day.
Ladies and gentlemen, so all too soon we've come to the end of the breakfast meeting. If we should extend it, we'll go into a lunch meeting. We don't want that. But to say a big thank you to GH1 TV, of course, your best experience, and then all the others who came to support GH1, that's GTV, TV3, Peace FM, City FM, and City TV. I think so. Honorable Minister, there should be a group picture, so we're arranging for that. Photographers kindly get in. We would want to say a big thank you also to the National Tenants Union of Ghana. Indeed, we needed to get you contribute, but we trust that at the opportune time you have the opportunity to meet with the Minister. Thank you very much for all those who made it. Please kindly, dignitaries on the high table, you can take yours first, and then we'll see about how we'll go about it. We'll do the closing prayer, please. I beg my apologies. Let's quickly do the closing prayer. Madam Yvette Apia, if you are here. Madam Yvette Apia, can we rise and say a quick prayer? Lady Yvette Apia would help us do that. Thank you all very much, all the media partners that supported this initiative. We're looking forward to greater collaborations with you. Once this is done, we would be...
Shall we pray? Our dear Father in heaven, we all gathered here are so grateful for this, our wonderful major maiden event. the Real Estate Times Africa session with the Works and Housing Minister. Father, we know that you've been here with us from the beginning and has taken us through successfully. Many ideas have been shared. Lord, do not let them just be ideas, but things that will be transferred into actions, and that they will build our nation Ghana for the betterment of all, to the glory of your holy name. As you are about to depart, Father, let your angels guide and protect us and take us safely back home to continue the good works that we are doing for you. We ask this and all other things in the mighty name of Jesus, we pray. Amen.
Amen. So signatories on this table and on that table. Just let's line up here and then. Because of COVID protocols, kindly would take the images in batches, please. Please hold on, just the heads, not everybody. So the dignitaries on these two tables. Yeah. Please, the rest should wait. Photographers, thank you.